day everyone, my name is Jikbula Hermosa and I am the first presenter of the group. So our topic is all about Chapter 4, the legal basis of the teaching profession. Legal basis of the teaching profession is this chapter focuses on the legal basis of the teaching profession. It will start with a discussion of the Magna Carta for teachers, followed by the discussion of the Professional Code of Ethics or teachers and some excerpts of duties of teachers based on the Manual of Regulation for private schools. Understanding the legal basis of the teaching profession will help teachers and student teachers in knowing their duties, asserting their rights, and in guiding them how to act professionals. The objective of this chapter are the following. Discuss the specific duties of professional teachers based on existing laws and regulation. Second, analyze various legal issues and challenges related to the teaching profession. And lastly, appreciate teachers and other educators who perform their duties with the highest level of professionalism. The legal basis of the teaching profession composed of 6 parts. First is the Article 14 of 1987 Republic of the Philippines, Batas Pambansa 232, Republic Act 4670, Republic Act 7836, and Republic Act 9393, Republic Act 10533, and lastly, the Code of Ethics for Professional Teachers. So now, let's move forward to the Article 14 of the 1987 Republic of the Philippines Constitution. Article 14 of the 1987 Constitution provides the general framework for the educators in the country. It shows how the state recognizes the importance of the education, science and technology, cultural development, and sports and wellness in the life of the states of the people. There are many sections to it. So now let's move forward to the Batas Pambansa 323. So Batas Pambansa 232, otherwise known as the Education Act of 1988, was signed into law by President Ferdinand E. Marcos. It has Section 10, the rights of all school personnel, and Section 11, special rights and or privileges of teaching or academic staff, and Section 16, teacher's obligation in every teacher shall. So this is all my report, and let's move forward to the next presenter.
Good afternoon, everyone, and now let's proceed to the Republic Act 7836. Let's discuss what Republic Act 7836 is all about and why this act is important to all aspiring teachers. So now let's get started. So the government has long recognized the vital role of teachers in the development of the nation. However, it was when only President Ferdinand E. Marcos issued Presidential Decree 1006 on September 22, 1976 that formally organized the National Board for Teachers. So since then on, all teachers then have to take the professional board exam for teachers. So Republic Act 7836, this is an act of strengthening the regulation and supervision of the practice of teaching in the Philippines and prescribing a licensure examination for teachers and for other purposes. So to make it short, Republic Act 7836 is Philippine Teachers Professionalization Act of 1994. And this act was enacted on December 16, 1994, and it was then transferred to the jurisdiction of the Professional Regulations Commission. So, and this made the teaching profession or teachers to be equal or at par with other professionals such as medical doctors, engineers, lawyers, and nurses, among others. So the question is, what is the relationship of this act to all the aspiring teachers? So why this act is important to them? So, the importance of this act to all the aspiring teachers, as what I have said earlier, this act is to strengthen the supervision and regulation of the practice teaching in the Philippines. So, in order to ensure a responsible and literate citizenry, therefore, all the aspiring teachers are really required to take and pass the licensure examination for teachers or LET. Again, Republic Act 7836 includes the supervision and regulation of the licensure examination for teachers. This also covers all teachers in all levels of education from preschool to secondary, whether it's part-time or full-time. So in Article 1, it states here that it provides the statement of policy, objectives, and definition of important terms used in the law. In Statement of Policy, this state recognizes the vital role of teachers in nation building and development through a responsible and literate citizenry. And this act has the herein objectives. First is the promotion, development, professionalization of teachers and the teaching profession. And lastly is the supervision and regulation. This act also uses the important definition of terms. So, to briefly explain, this article is about the recognizing the vital role that teachers play in developing and responsible citizens. In Article 2, it discusses the composition and functions of the Board for Professional Teachers. This also includes necessary qualifications of the members of the board. So, in Article 2, it's about the Board for Professional Teachers. It's the creation and composition, duties and functions, qualifications, and condition for the removal of the board that's stated in this act. So there are two most important duties of the board. First is prescribing a code of ethics and professional standards of teachers and look into a state that affects the teachers and the teaching profession. So when necessary, they will be able to enhance and create higher standard for teachers. Okay, moving on in Article 3. Article 3 explains the examination and regulation rules and procedures. So this article tells us that the registration of professional teachers begins after his name has been enrolled in the roster of professional teachers. But before that, each teacher shall be required to take his professional oath so that he can finally practice as a professional teacher. So, to have a clear understanding about this article, I'll give a brief explanation each information that provided in this article. First is the scope of examination. In the scope of examination, the examination between elementary and secondary school teachers is separated. So, lahi ang scope of examination sa elementary school teachers and sa secondary. Ang examination sa teachers for elementary level are only consist of two parts, the professional education and the general education, while ang examination sa teachers for secondary level consist of three parts, namely the professional education, general education, and the field of specialization. So that is the scope of examination. In qualification requirements of applicants, no applicant shall be admitted to the examination unless kung on the date of filing of application, he compiled everything or he compiled all the requirements needed, that he must or he is a citizen of the Philippines or an alien whose country has reciprocity with the Philippines in the practice of the teaching profession. He is at least 18 years of age and he is in a good health and of good reputation with high moral values. He's not been convicted by final judgment by a court for an offense moral turpitude, and lastly, he is a graduate of school, college, or university that he recognizes by the government and possesses the minimum educational qualification. Next is report of the results of the examination. So within 120 days after the examination, the board is going to report the ratings obtained by each candidate sa PRC or Professional Regulation Commission para sa approval and appropriate action. Next is the issuance of Certificate of Registration and Professional License. In here, the registration of a professional teacher commences from the date that he is enrolled in the roster of professional teachers. And every registrant that has satisfactorily met all the requirements specified in this act will going to pay the registration fee and then issue the certificate of registration as professional teacher bearing their full name with serial number and date of issuance signed by the chairman, vice chairman, and the members of the boards. Kining professional license that's signed by the chairman of the commission will be issued to every registrant that pay the annual registration fee for 3 consecutive years. And this license is served as the evidence that the license can lawfully practice his profession until the expiration of its validity. Next is oath before practice. In oath before practice, every registrant are required to take his professional oath before practicing as a professional teacher. Periodic merit examination for teachers. Periodic merit examination for teachers. This is to encourage continuing professional growth and development to provide additional basis for merit promotion. So in addition to their performance rating, teachers may take an oral and written examination at least once in 5 years as basis for merit promotion. And in taking this examination, there's no required fee. So, in periodic merit of examination, mao ni ang mga teachers na ganahan magpataas sa ilang ranggo or magpataas silang ranggo. Next is failure to pass the merit examination of teachers. If a teacher fails to pass the merit examination, he still have a second chance to take the merit examination. However, if at the second time around he still fail, he are not allowed to take the examination unless he take the DEX accredited refresher course or program. If the permanent teacher failed to pass the merit examination, however, it will not be used as a ground for his or her dismissal or demotion. Next is incentives for passing the LET. Those teachers who pass the licensure examination for teachers or LET, they will be rewarded a diploma of merit by the board. They will earn merit points for purposes of promotion in salary or to a higher position or grade level. They will be placed in the priority list for government scholarship, and lastly, they will enjoy such other benefits such as may be promulgated by the board. Next is integration of the teaching profession. The teaching profession shall be integrated into one national organization which shall be recognized by the board of the commission as the one and only integrated and accredited association of professional teachers. Upon registration with the board, every professional teachers will be encouraged to become a member of the integrated national organization. So to those not registered with the board and not yet members, they are allowed to register as members of the said integrated organization within 3 years after the effectivity of this act. So, revocation of the certificate of registration, suspension from the practice of the teaching profession, and the cancellation of temporary special permit. So, in here, ang board, they have the power to suspend or revoke the certificate of registration of any registrant or to reprimand or cancel the temporary special permit of a registrant if the holder something violates the law. And lastly is the registration procedures. So, the Republic Act 7836, this law is about recognizes the vital contributions of teachers in nation building and development. So, teachers are responsible for the development of good and literate citizens. Okay, moving on. Republic Act 9293. This is an act amending of certain sections of Republic Act 7836, or otherwise known as the Philippine Teachers Professionalization Act of 1994. This act was enacted on April 21, 2004 by the Congress. So, these are the following sections that are enacted by the Senate and House of Representatives of the Philippines in Congress. Section 15. Qualification requirements of applicants. In this section, the applicants cannot take the examination unless he complied everything, or he complied the requirements needed. In graduate of a school, college, or university recognized by the government and possesses the minimum educational qualifications such as follows. So for teachers in preschool, the degree that he should take is the bachelor's degree in early childhood education or its equivalent. For teachers in the elementary grade, it's bachelor's degree in elementary education or BEd or its equivalent. For secondary teachers, it's a bachelor's degree in education or its equivalent with a major or minor, or a bachelor degree in arts and sciences with at least 18 units in professional education. And for teachers in vocational and technical courses, it's bachelor's degree in the field of specialization or its equivalents with at least 18 units in professional education. That's what's in section 15. Section 26. Registration and exemption. In this section, no one or no person shall engage in teaching and act as a professional teacher as defined in this act, whether in the preschool, elementary, or secondary level, unless if you are a duly registered professional teacher and a holder of a valid certificate of registration and a valid professional license, or a holder of a special or temporary permit. In Section 31, Transitory Provisions. So special permits with a validity of 3 years and 5 years issued to para-teachers by the Board of Professional Teachers before the effectivity of this act shall be allowed to expire based on the period granted. Okay, next, Republic Act 10,533. It is an act on enhancing the Philippine basic education system by strengthening its curriculum and increasing the number of years for basic education, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes. Or this act is otherwise known as the Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013, or this is the K-12 curriculum. This act was proposed by Senator Lauren Regarde and was approved on May 15, 2013, which took effect on June 8, 2013. So the Department of Education, or DepEd, the Commission on Higher Education, or CHED, and the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, or TESDA, hereby issue the rules and regulations to implement the provisions of this act. So this act, or the Enhanced Basic Education, establishes the Enhanced Basic Education program, which espouses the following objectives. First is to give every student an opportunity to receive quality education that is globally competitive based on pedagogically sound curriculum that is at par with international standards. Two is broaden the goals of high school education for college preparation, vocational and technical career opportunities, as well as creative arts, sports, and entrepreneurial employment in a rapidly changing and increasingly globalized environment. And last, to make education learner-centered oriented and responsive to the needs, cognitive and cultural capacity, because circumstances and diversity of learners, schools, and communities through the appropriate languages of teaching and learning, including the mother tongue as a learning resource. So, to sum it up, the new law aims to connect our fundamental education to eventually employment in a globalized society. So it accomplishes this by utilizing language to boost our learning abilities and maximizing time spent in secondary school to prepare us for the careers of our choice. So the new law's implementation may be costly given the need to build more classrooms and educate more teachers to handle 2 additional years of basic education, but is past time to invest extensively in education if we are to invest in our country's future at all. So I guess that's all my report. I hope you learned something and God bless.
Good day everyone, I am Melissa Rodriguez and this is my assigned topic, which is the Magna Carta Republic Act number 4670. For you to know, President Ferdinand E. Marcos was signed this Republic Act number 4670 during his first part of his term as President of the Philippines. So this law is very important in the history of the teaching profession in the Philippines. As stipulated in Section 1 of this law, this act aims to promote and improve the social economic status of public school teachers, their living and working conditions, their terms of employment and career prospects, so meaning, in order that they may compare favorably with existing opportunities in other walks of life, attract and retain in the teaching profession more people with other qualifications, it being recognized that advance in education depends on the qualifications and ability of the teaching staff, and that education is an essential factor in the economic growth of nation as a productive investment of vital importance. These are the following special provisions in this Act. The first one is a Section 5 Tenure of Office. In this section, this subject to the provisions of Section 3 hereof, the teachers appointed on a provisional status for lack of necessary civil service. Eligibility shall be extended permanent appointment for the position he is holding after having rendered at least 10 years of continuous, efficient, and faithful service in such position. Next, Section 6, Consent for Transportation. Except for cause and as herein otherwise provided, no teacher shall be transferred without his consent from one station to another. Where the agencies of the service require the transfer of a teacher from one station to another, the school superintendent who shall previously notify the teacher concerned of the transfer and the reason or reasons therefore may affect such transfer. So if the teacher believes there is no justification for the transfer, he may appeal his case to the Director of Public Schools or the Director of Vocational Education as the case may be. Pending his appeal and the decision thereon, his transfer shall be held in abeyance, provided, however, that no transfers whatever shall be made 3 months before any local or national election. The government shall pay for necessary transfer expenses of the teacher and his family if his transfer is finally approved. Section 7, Code of Professional Conduct for Teachers. Within 6 months from the approval of this Act, the Secretary of Education shall formulate and prepare a Code of Professional Conduct for public school teachers. A copy of the code shall be furnished each teacher, provided, however, that where this is not possible by reason of inadequate fiscal resources of the Department of Education, at least 3 copies of the same code shall be deposited with the office of the school principal or head teacher, where they may be accessible for use by the teachers. Next, Section 8, Safeguards in Disciplinary Procedure. Every teacher shall enjoy equitable safeguards at each stage of any disciplinary procedure and shall have, first, the right to be informed in writing of the charges. Second, the right to full access to the evidence in the case. Third, the right to defend himself and to be defended by a representative of his choice and or by his organization, adequate time being given to the teacher for the preparation of his defense, and lastly, the right to appeal to clearly designated authorities. So, no publicity shall be given to any disciplinary action being taken against a teacher during the pendency of his case. Next, Section 9, Administrative Charges. So, the administrative charges against a teacher shall be heard initially by a committee composed of their corresponding school superintendent of the division or a duly authorized representative who should at least have the rank of a division supervisor, where the teacher belongs as chairman, a representative of the local or in its absence, any existing provincial or national teachers organization and a supervisor of the division. The last two to be designated by the director of public schools. So, committee shall submit its findings and recommendations to the director of public schools within 30 days from the termination of the hearings, provided, however, that where the school superintendent is the complainant or an interested party, all the members of the committee shall be appointed by the Secretary of Education. Next, Section 10, No Discrimination. There shall be no discrimination whatsoever in entrance to the teaching profession or during its exercise or in the termination of services based on other than professional consideration. Meaning, to understand the equality and know their rights, to understand both teachers and students herein no discrimination, so that treated adversely and discriminated against are more likely to have a negative impact to the school. Next, Section 11, Married Teachers. Whenever possible, the proper authorities shall take all steps to enable married couples, both of whom are public school teachers, to be employed in the same locality. Section 12, Academic Freedom. Teachers shall enjoy academic freedom in the discharge of their professional duties, particularly with regard to teaching and classroom methods. Students and teachers are free to know and to learn something what they really wanted to learn. Next, Section 13, the Teaching Hours. Any teacher engaged in actual classroom instruction shall not be required to render more than 6 hours of actual classroom teaching a day, which shall be so scheduled as to give him time for the preparation and correction of exercises and other work incidental to his normal teaching duties, provided, however, that where the exigencies of the service so require, any teacher may require to render more than 6 hours but not exceeding 8 hours of actual classroom teaching a day, upon payment of additional compensation at the same time or at the same rate as his regular remuneration plus at least 25% of his basic pay. Next, Section 14, Additional Compensation. In this section, notwithstanding any provision of existing law to the contrary, co-curricular and out-of-school activities, any other activities outside of what is defined as normal duties of any teacher shall be paid an additional compensation of at least 25% of his regular remuneration. Section 15 to 19, Salaries of the teachers, other benefits and allowances. First one is COLA, meaning cost of living allowance. To help teachers augment their income to cope with the increased cost of living. And second is the special hardship allowances for teachers assigned in areas in which teachers are exposed to hardship such as difficulty in commuting to the place of work or other hazards peculiar to the place of employment. The Section 22 of this Act. In this Act, it is compulsory annual medical examination is required and it shall be provided free of charge of all teachers before they take up teaching. And once a year during the teacher's professional life, an important provision was also stipulated in Section 23 whereby all teachers are protected against the consequences of employment injuries that includes the effects of the physical and nervous strain on the teacher's health. In Section 24, Republic Act 4670 also provides opportunities for teachers to avail and enjoy study leave for those who wish to pursue graduate studies and special trainings in the country or abroad. While in Section 25, the law also provides indefinite leave for teachers who may be required to take long treatment for some serious illness. In Section 26, the law also stipulates that all public school teachers having fulfilled the age and service requirements of the applicable retirement laws shall be given one salary raise upon retirement, which shall be the basis of the computation of the lump sum of the retirement pay and monthly benefits thereafter. In Section 27, as professionals, teachers are free either to form an organization or to join any local or national or international organizations. Their choice of organization may vary based on their interests and specialization. Lastly, Section 28, it protects public school teachers from any form of discrimination such as the following. A. Make the employment of a teacher subject to condition that she or he shall not join an organization or shall relinquish membership in an organization. B. Cause the dismissal of otherwise prejudice a teacher by reason of his membership in an organization. Lastly, prevent him or her from carrying out of the duties laid upon him or her by his or her position in the organization.